What's good, YouTube? It's your boy Show back with another video, and today we're talking about this Final Fantasy Rebirth, whatever you want to call it, part 2 of 7 of Remake. And yeah, it looks good. I mean, as you've seen the little trailer or whatever, obviously we know what to expect. I want to talk about this for a little bit because it's a couple of things I have to ask about this specifically, like how many parts it's gonna be. With Final Fantasy, I'm a big fan. I love it. Obviously, it's one of my favorite games of all time, franchise-wise. But this one's gonna be amazing. I'm not gonna lie, I'm really hyped for it. Here's my thing with Final Fantasy 7. I never played the original. When I started playing the remake, for one thing, I've already seen Cloud in like Smash. Cloud is like a very famous character among Final Fantasy games. So, you know, even though he's self-confined to his own number series, which is 7, you know, you see him pop up here and there at different areas like Kingdom Hearts and stuff. And then, like I said, Smash. He's a very well-known character. So it makes sense they would you know, remake his game, and that's the one they would choose. It's probably the most popular Final Fantasy ever. Obviously, you know, they came out with the Final Fantasy Remake Part 1, and that, you know, was basically the intro to the entire game. And like I said, I have a few questions that I kind of know there's not going to be answers to. With this upcoming part, Rebirth, is noted that it takes 2 discs. Now I'm assuming they saying this takes 2 discs because it's such a huge game, and from my standpoint, that is awesome. And the way that they're marketing this is that they want you to know specifically that there's 2 discs. That specifically it's either like a lot of content or it's like the visually looks crazy, so it won't fit on actually 1 disc. I think it's a cool little gimmick. I mean, I ain't played like those 2 disc games since the PS2 era, and you used to have to do stuff like that, and that was kind of annoying, I'm not gonna lie. Rebirth though looks interesting. I mean, obviously, let's see. If they made the first game and it was based off of like the very beginning intro, I believe in Midgar, and there's like the beginning intro, which I did play Final Fantasy 7 Remake. I did finish that, and I finished Crisis Core. But if they made that like the beginning intro, and that was a pretty decent like length game, this game having 2 discs could actually very well be a grand adventure. And for me personally, I love playing JRPGs like for 100 hours if they're actually done correctly. Like Persona was a breeze to get through in 100 hours. You know, it was like 100 plus hours to beat the game, I believe, and it absolutely held up to that end of the bargain. But even that game wasn't 2 discs. Obviously, it isn't graphically up there with a game like Final Fantasy, but it had loads of content, so that's something to look forward to, I guess. I mean, me personally, I'm buying on digital. It's gonna end up being like 200 gigabytes the way they're talking. I'm about to pull up an article just to give you guys a couple of like little nuggets of information in case you don't know about Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth.
Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is bringing back Cloud & Co. for the next installment in a trilogy of games that will reimagine the classic RPG. After Square Enix first officially announcing the follow-up during the 25th anniversary event for Final Fantasy VII, we finally got another big look at Rebirth during the Summer Game Fest 2023 at the close of the showcase. The trailer, which has already left some fans worried about the fate of Tifa, now has a new launch window of, meaning it will no longer be among the lineup of new games for 2023. Still, with a previous release date of winter, the amended window gives us a slightly better idea of when we can expect the Rebirth to land. With teasers of gameplay and some story elements, read on below as we take you through everything we know so far about Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. After having a tentative winter launch window, Square Enix revealed we can expect to see Final Fantasy VII Rebirth in early 2024. While this still doesn't give us an exact release date, we now know we won't be seeing the reimagined adventure until next year. The only platform Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is confirmed to launch on is PS5. While Final Fantasy VII Remake did originally release on PS4, it would appear that Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 2 is skipping the platform entirely as Square Enix focuses its efforts on the new generation of consoles. Square Enix is yet to confirm whether a Final Fantasy VII Rebirth PC release is on the cards. Although with Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade now available on Steam, there is a fair chance that Rebirth will make it there eventually. Will Final Fantasy VII Remake come to Xbox? The question of whether Final Fantasy VII Remake will come to Xbox platforms remains unanswered, although there is some hope yet. As it stands, Final Fantasy VII Remake and its sequel, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, are PlayStation console exclusives. However, with news that Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade has finally made its way to PC, the chances of an Xbox Series export have improved. Couple that speculation with the fact that Crisis Core Final Fantasy VII Reunion, a remaster of the FF7 prequel in the style of remake, is coming to Xbox One and Xbox Series X later this year, so Square Enix might be laying the groundwork for a future release of Remake Integrate on Microsoft platforms. We've got to see some Final Fantasy VII Rebirth gameplay during the Summer Game Fest, with various shots of Cloud and Ko walking through different environments, riding chocobos, and fighting various creatures with Final Fantasy VII Remake's blend of real-time action and commands. The upcoming sequel looks set to open up the world beyond Midgard, just like the original experience. It looks like we'll once again be fighting alongside Barret, Tifa, and Aerith, along with the latest party edition, Red 13.
And basically, with that being said, let's talk about this this parts thing. I mentioned this before. I don't really know how many parts they're going for, because obviously this is not the last part. They haven't announced it as the final part. You would think that this would be something they would announce, but like I said, if they're making the game, if they're spanning the game to like be this grand saga and this grand adventure, I'm thinking at least 3 games. I think they're gonna go the 13 route, like 13, 13-2, and then Lightning Returns. I think they're gonna do something like that, and they're gonna at least squeeze it into 3 games. Hopefully, though, I'm gonna be honest. Hopefully, this will end in three actual parts. Cause even though I know a lot of fans out there is like, I'll play this game as many parts as they give me. As much as I like Cloud and them, I don't really want to follow them for that many games. Specifically, when I know how the story is. Not necessarily how it's going to end, because it's obviously been announced that it's already been confirmed, basically, that they're not going to be going by the story verbatim. And that's an interesting choice, because it gives people who've played the game already a chance to go and relive the story. Now, from speculation, we see that Zack might still be alive, and that's a difference from Crisis Core. I just recently played Crisis Core with this reunion, because I hadn't touched no Final Fantasy VII thing. I think the only game I actually played was Dirge of Cerberus with Vincent Valentine. That was a cool game, but as far as Crisis Core, I thought about downloading it for like a PSP, and I never really played it ever. I didn't really care for it. I love Crisis Core now, though. Crisis Core is one of my little favorite little games to play. We just get up there and randomly do some missions. It was a very fun game. Very short. Obviously, it's a PSP game, so they're meant to be short, but I was really hoping that when they did like the remaster, they were gonna like make it so you can see like a different cutscene that would lead into the Final Fantasy. But you really didn't get anything like that. But we did get like more cutscenes and stuff to Zack, and there might be a lot of timeline shenanigans going on, and he may be alive, and that'll be cool to me, because his death, to me, even though I hadn't played the game, I've seen it. That death is so iconic for Zack. It's not really something that you can really forget, you know. It's like something that you've seen everywhere. It's been literally everywhere. I know that kind of is like a spoiler, but I mean, the original game has been out for like at least 10 years, so at this point, so I apologize if I did spoil you to that, but it seems like it doesn't really matter, because we don't really know if he's alive or dead, so I guess that's not really a spoiler anymore at this point. I want to ask you guys though, you think you care there's gonna be 2 discs? Like, really? Do you really even care? Is this like a thing to hype you up? Do you think that having 2 discs is gonna be interesting? Do you think that there's gonna be more than 3 parts? I honestly do not know if I want it to last for like 4 or 5 parts. I don't. I really don't. I like Cloud. I like his journey. I like his peoples, but I don't think they can do enough to where I'll be basically playing a giant DLC to the game for another 3 parts. I couldn't do it. Great game and all, but at that point, just remake another Final Fantasy. I really would like that. I'll be honest, I really would like that studio, whatever studio is doing the remake, and if they got like different people on the newer Final Fantasies, I would actually love for there to be a let's go back and remake every Final Fantasy game. Because some games need better graphics, they need to be remade. Final Fantasy games have some of the best stories in gaming, and it's a shame that we don't really get to see that much because of the fact that it's just outdated, you know, and we definitely need games to be reintroduced to us. I would love to play the Final Fantasy with Terra in it, because I remember playing that when I was younger, and it had a very good story, and I would love to see what they can do with it now. But with that, guys, being said, let me know how you feeling about this 2 disc thing. You feel like this game is going to be heat? You excited for it? What time you think it's going to come out? And I'll see you guys next video.
Star Platinum! やれやれだぜ。